We're going to hop right in today. This is a long video. I'm going to teach you how to vibe code using Venice AI. We are going to build a fully private journaling app that you can run on your computer. It saves all of your entries and will even give us AI-powered insights, also powered by Venice AI, to stay private. By the end of this video, you will have an understanding of what vibe coding is and how to do it using your Venice credits. This is a completely beginner-friendly tutorial. In this video, I will walk you through the open source and free software we will use to vibe code, how to generate your Venice API key, choose the right models for both building and for powering the app we're going to build. We are going to create a basic product requirements document and a coding plan so our agent can stay on track. And then we're going to vibe code and let our agent do its thing. You will also have a pretty cool private journal entry app by the end of it. This is a great use case of everything Venice has to offer, from its powerful open source and proprietary models to its Diem token, which gives you $1 in API credits every day for every token you stake. So let's get started. What is vibe coding? In case you haven't heard of it, all vibe coding really means is AI-assisted software development. The term was originally coined by this guy, a co-founder of OpenAI, and the term vibe coding really just references when the code itself disappears from the process and you're just using natural language with the LLM, the AI, to create applications, to create software. So in essence, you don't even have to be a coder now to be able to vibe code with AI. Pretty cool. So first off, we need an integrated development environment. That's IDE. And this is the software that developers have been using for years to create code. There are many IDEs out there, but we'll be using Visual Studio Code. This is open source, free software from Microsoft. So to get started, make sure you download and install this onto your computer. Now, VS Code is very simple. What I like to do is just click Open and just create a new folder, call it Vibe Coding, and then click Open. And now you have a fresh workspace. And here's where everything will happen. Eventually with this project, your workspace will look something like this. There's files over here on the left. There's the contents of a file you have open. So for example, we have veniceapi.js open here. Here's storage.js, export.js. And this is all code. But guess what? I didn't write this code. I'm not a coder. The AI agent inside of VS Code wrote the code. And there's many different agents we can put here. So right now, and in this video, we're going to use RooCode. RooCode is a free and open source extension where you can plug in any models you want from any providers to do your coding. RooCode is very popular on GitHub. It has a strong community. So you can install RooCode from their website, or you can simply search for it in the marketplace. Make sure it's verified by RooCode, and you can just click install here. I already have it installed. Once that's installed, over here, you can toggle on the right sidebar, and here is where RooCode lives. This is where our agent is going to reside. But before we start vibe coding, we need to give it intelligence. So how are we going to do that? Through the Venice API. So if you go to the Venice AI interface, click the API page, and here you can generate a new API key. We'll call it RooCode. Click Create, and copy that API key. Next up, we're going to come back to VS Code into the RooCode tab and click that settings icon. And here you can see I already have these set up, but I'm going to start fresh with you. We'll click plus to make a new configuration profile and just call it Venice for now. Then you're going to select the OpenAI compatible API provider. You'll see Venice isn't here, but that's okay because Venice is OpenAI compatible. So we click OpenAI compatible and then we pop in api.venice.ai/API/v1 as the base URL. So RooCode knows where to connect. Paste in your API key and then you will see a model list. Now, which model do we want to use and why? We're going to talk about that in just a minute. For now, just set your model to GLM 4.6. It's a great coding model. It's private. It's open source for our purposes of this mood journal. And it is far cheaper than a powerful beast like Opus, for example. So go ahead and click Save. And now you have your configuration profile here for basic Venice coding. So now what we can do is say, create a HTML web page that says, hello world, I am learning vibe coding. Use a red and yellow color scheme. Okay, so let's keep it simple here. Now, before I press send, You will see that we have different modes here in RooCode. Architect mode, code mode, ask, debug, orchestrator. Okay, and you can even make your own modes too, but we're going to keep it simple here. Architect is making the plan. When we build our journal, we're going to want to use architect mode. For now, I'm just going to go straight into code mode, and I'll press send. And now you can see it created a new file in front of our eyes and saved it. Task complete. And if I open that up on my computer in my browser, here we go. Hello world, I am learning vibe coding. Pretty neat, right? If you've never vibe coded before, this really opens up the doors to what's possible. But we're going to build something cooler than that. And to do so, we're going to need to take advantage of these modes. So let's jump into these modes. You can see here right now, when I'm in code mode, it says Venice Coder. When I'm in architect mode, it just says Venice. Why? Well, that's because you might want to use different models for different purposes. So for example, I have a configuration profile for Venice Opus. Claude Opus 4.5 is probably the most powerful agentic model out there right now at the time of me recording this. It's very powerful, but it's also very expensive. And I don't want to use Opus for every little coding task. I want to use it to make the plan, not to do all the little tasks. I want to use it as a senior developer, as they would say in the industry. So I have my Venice Opus configuration profile set here in the modes tab. I have that set for architect mode. So when I'm going to plan and architect a project, it's going to use Opus. And now this is a good time to see what these modes really mean. These modes are really just sub-agents, subordinate agents that the main RooCode agent calls when it's time to perform a specific task. So for example, the definition of the architect is you're an experienced technical leader who's inquisitive and an excellent planner. You gather information, you get context, and you create a detailed plan. So this is all the mode-specific instructions here inside RooCode. Pretty neat. You can switch to all the modes, coder mode, ask mode, debug mode, etc. So you can see I have Opus set for architect, and in my coder configuration profile, I'm using GLM 4.6. If we check out the Venice AI interface, we can see that this is a private model, which is what we want for our mood journal, but also it has a fairly higher than average context window, 203,000, although these days it looks like that's becoming more normal. 203,000 token context window limit. The context window just means how long, how big can a conversation be before the quality gets bad. That's a really simple way of putting it. And now we are ready to go with our very basic vibe coding project. I'll start a new task here. Down below, you can see a link to get this prompt if you want to play with it, but it's basically a prompt to create a product requirements document for our beginner-friendly mood journal app called Sanctuary, a private local-first mood tracking application. Now, do you need to create a product requirements document? No, but it helps as a single source of truth reference document. So as your agent gets busier and busier with your app, and maybe you add more features and you keep playing with the design, AIs forget things, and eventually the AI RooCode here will forget things too. You start a new conversation, you have to start fresh. So having a PRD document helps just to keep things on track, but it's not fully required, but it is best practice to create a basic PRD, so I do recommend it, and we're going to keep it in this video. So I'm going to paste that prompt here. And it's going to use Venice Opus. Once again, we're going to use a beast model to make sure we get really good results for this plan. And then we're going to use cheaper coding models to create the actual app. So you can see here it makes a to-do list. Here it goes. It's creating the product requirements document, our PRD. And so the purpose of the PRD and why I recommend it is because it really takes your idea from your prompt and expands on it and goes into the details. And then when you're ready, you can actually go in yourself and make sure this is everything you want, review it, refine it, because this is going to be the Bible, if you will, of your project. It's even creating little mock-ups for different components that will be in this app. And it looks like this is going to be a lot of fun. And now Roo goes over what it just did, tells me all the sections and the decisions it made for design. This is something that Opus really excels at, and why it's recommended to use a powerful model like Opus for the beginnings of your project. Now Roo has a question, it's giving me options. Is this good? Do we finalize it? Do we want to add more detail, etc.? I am going to say yes, add more detail to the Venice API integration section. So we've got our PRD now, we're ready to move forward. I'll click this finalize button, and we get a nice little concluding message here. All the details for the Venice API integration are now here, including the base URL, models available, etc. So we're ready to start vibe coding now. What do we want to do here? We're going to stay in architect mode just a little bit longer. We're going to hold down Shift and drag our PRD file in here. And we're going to say we are ready to start building, create a comprehensive coding plan for the PRD. And now Roo is going to create the to-do list for all the little things that need to happen to make this app a reality. Okay, so the first thing Roo did was read our PRD, and now it knows what's going on. And it's asking, do we want this to be a simple HTML file, or do we want component-based architecture with state management? Like, whoa. So what I'm going to choose is this third option. Let's just start with basic HTML vanilla JavaScript for our minimum viable product, or MVP. And then later, if we find it necessary, we will upgrade to a actual like app. Now, in this case, we want to run this locally in private. An HTML file, in my opinion, is going to be just fine. And Roo agrees. Excellent choice. So now this is a good time to get up and do a little stretch break, even though it is fun to watch this kind of black magic happen. But what we're seeing here is a step past the PRD, and it's creating just like the coding plan. I'm not a coder, so I don't understand all of this, but here's our file structure, what everything is going to look like. We got our CSS style files, we got our JS JavaScript files, build order, what order should these all be coded in. This is a really in-depth plan here. It's even making our styles, animations. Okay, cool. So we can see here we've got an epic plan. I don't even know how many pages this is. Does this plan look good? Would you like to make any changes? And now I say, let's start building phase one. And this is what's cool. Now it's going to jump into code mode, which means, remember when we changed the model to the open source model, so it's cheaper. This is going to switch the way Roo operates. So it's done the architecture. Now it's ready to start building. And we'll see down here, it switches to the Venice Coder configuration profile, which, if we recall, is GLM 4.6. One pro tip here is that, as you can see, RooCode goes through different tasks and things it needs to do. And sometimes it'll need to ask you permission unless you just give it auto approval permission, which means it doesn't have to ask you permission to run certain actions. And the reason for this is because it has full command line access to your computer. It essentially could mess things up on your computer. I've never needed to worry about this too much on RooCode, but it is something to keep in mind. But so I have everything here from reading files to writing files, using the browser, using an MCP, switching mode, creating and completing subtasks, and executing terminal commands, all without approval. This one, maybe it's probably better to leave that one off. Same with question. You want to answer the questions yourself. Don't let the agent do that. But depending on your comfortability level, you can toggle these on and off as you find appropriate. The more you have toggled on, the less RooCode is going to bother you, and the more available you'll be to just like walk away from your computer while it's vibe coding, because this will take a long time. And no matter how much you're just sitting here, it's just going to keep on doing what it does. Now, while that's going, I like to take a look at the Venice Discord. I'm a big fan of the API channel. I learn a lot in there about the different models and what it can do. And if you ever have any questions, this is also a great place to ask them. You can also hear the latest announcements from Venice. And hey, a YouTube channel mega thread featuring yours truly and all these video tutorials we make, so you can harness this freedom-oriented intelligent service in the best way possible. Another thing you'll notice as it's working, which is neat, is you can click this phase one foundation. You'll see every task it's got in its list. So it knows exactly what we're building thanks to the PRD. It's got a coding plan. thanks to the RooCode architect. And now it's just going through one task at a time. It will check these off as it finishes them. So I'm going to go have some lunch and we'll check back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back and all the tasks have been finished, but it looks like things got a little stuck because it started testing and for some reason it just stopped. So I can find all the files over here that it created. Here, the app is called Sanctuary. And here there's an index.html file, which we can see is our app. So if I right click that and open this in my browser, we'll see, okay, it says loading Sanctuary, but doesn't seem like it's actually loading. We have a problem. The first thing I'm going to do before even going to the AI is right click in my browser and click inspect. I'll go over here to console. Oh, look, we have some errors. Access to script has been blocked. So I'm going to copy these errors right here. This is a very good source of information for debugging. And once again, this seemed to freeze up, completely normal. I just started a new task with that little button, and I'm going to go into debug mode. And I'm going to say the app doesn't seem to get past the loading screen. I'll paste that. And it knows that we're working here with this app. So even though this new conversation doesn't have the plan or anything, it's going to look through our files here and know like, okay, this is the app that Jordan's talking about. So Roo debug mode gave me a few different options for what's wrong. And the problem is because I'm opening the files directly in the browser and I need to do it this way. Okay, well then let's click that. And there we go. So now let's see. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling good, not great. Let's just say I didn't sleep so great, but had a great morning, and now I'm vibe coding, so I'm happy. Save entry. Entry saved. Now, view history. Cool. Cool. I can delete it if I want. Now, all of this is taking place in localhost, in my browser, locally. There's no servers, there's no internet involved, but we're missing the Venice AI integration. So let's start a new chat here. I am going to drag the coding plan into the agent, and I'm going to say our app at, and I'll drag the folder there too so it knows where the app is. Seems to have a good MVP done, but there is no AI integration from Venice for insights. Let's continue the build. Okay, so I'm fast forwarding a bit because it's the same process. RooCode, the AI just codes right there and I watch. And there's one more point about the API integration that we need to talk about, and that is the model we're going to use for processing journal entries. And what we've chosen here is Llama 3.370B. This is an open source and private model, decently priced. As you can see, there are cheaper ones. But for an open source model, it's got good enough intelligence for what we need. So when we're vibe coding an app and we want privacy using Venice AI, we must make sure we're using a private model. If it is anonymized, it's not going to know who we are exactly. But if you have names or sensitive data in there, this will go to OpenAI or Anthropic or Google, etc. So when it's important to stay private, ensure the models you choose for your processing are private. A good rule of thumb that I like to use is if it's code, it doesn't need to be very private, but if it's an application that processes personal stuff, then it should be private. So build with the best models you can, the best you can afford, and then use open source private models when privacy is an important point and concern. Okay, so it's finished phase 3 and phase 4. Today's reflection. How did I take care of myself today? AI insights, enable in settings. I can export my data here. Cool, so we've got settings. AI insights, let's pop that on. And I need to put my Venice API key here. So I'll pop that in. Only anonymized mood statistics are sent to Venice AI. Your notes are never transmitted. Now, in this case, because we're using Venice, it would be okay to send the notes, but for now, that's cool. 2 more entries required to unlock personalized insights. So let's see. Okay. I am great. I had a great workout. Hello. No. Let's say okay. I am hungry. No. I am feeling under the weather today. We'll refresh that and and we get an error. Classic vibe coding. So what do? We right click, we go to inspect. Oh wow, look at all this. So I'm going to copy all these errors and I'll paste that just right there, just like that. Not going to change modes, not going to start a new conversation. So I keep debugging here and you'll notice it's opening browser sessions. And one thing I need to be transparent about is while the camera was not rolling, I did change the model in Venice Coder back to Claude Opus because sometimes these open source models just don't do the agentic things that we want them to, like the beast models do. So when I'm having trouble, I will resort back to a premium model, and it doesn't have to be Claude Opus because that's super expensive. You could just try Gemini 3 Flash. It's pretty good at code. It's a Google model. Gemini 3 Pro Preview is even cheaper, though it's not very cheap. And this is something you're going to want to just figure out on your own based on your budget and based on the results you're trying to accomplish. So now I'll leave the console open and we see it's actually sending the API call now, and it worked. And it gives me mood insights. Generally positive. I've only logged moods in the morning. So this is our very basic version of the Sanctuary Mood Journal app. And once again, if we look in the settings here, it mentions how only mood statistics like the metadata is sent to Venice AI. But if you do feel comfortable with Venice, after all, if you're using an open source model, you could have it send the actual journal entries for it to analyze the text and maybe give you more of a, who knows, therapeutic type reflection or response back to you. And that would be something you just prompt in a new chat. You'd say, you'd go to architect mode, probably you go, I want Venice to also analyze my entries. And then it would go through the same process to add that functionality. So there you have it. Vibe coding with Venice AI, creating an app that takes advantage of Venice's privacy, using a mix of both open source and proprietary models to be as efficient as possible while obtaining the highest quality output that we can. So thanks for watching. I'm Jordan Herbs. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're eager to use Venice AI in new and interesting ways. It is a one-stop shop for all kinds of AI use cases these days. Vibe coding is just one of the many. So happy building out there.